Welcome to the 4th ASEAN EU Cooperation and Scholarship Day. You are now in the reception area. Here is the list of events we have prepared for you. Click on the schedule button to get a reminder on your phone or devices. Just dropping in to see what's on? Find this little red button to see which event is currently live and just join the fun. Take the time to explore the expo area and see what have been prepared for you. Here on the booth panel, you can have a one-on-one Q&A session with our exhibitors. Download all the information that interests you, join workshops and sessions, or try out the games. Each session also has its own booth panel for you to interact with the speakers. To have a conversation with an expo representative, click Share Video and Audio. The booth moderator will allow you to have a conversation with them. Have something to say? Head on over to the Voice of Youth booth. Pick your virtual background and overlay and say it with a photo or video. Don't forget to follow and tag at EU in ASEAN when you post it on social media. You might be the lucky winner to get a special hamper from the EU. We're so excited to have you here, and we wish you a good time.
I hope everyone here is well and have had the chance to look around the expo today. I'm Nabila Ernada and I will be your moderator for this session. Did you guys know that in 2019, 41% of EU scientists are women, with even higher rates in some EU member states? Unfortunately, in ASEAN, STEM is still a very male-dominated world. In today's session, we have invited two of our region's young women scientists and inventors to share their stories. So first up, I'd like to invite Anne Makosinski, who is best known for invention of the hollow flashlight, a flashlight that runs off heat of the human hand, and the e-drink, a coffee mug that harvests the excess heat of your hot drink and converts it to electricity to charge your phone.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Anne has also recently completed her work on a line of children's toys that run off completely green energy. I'd like to welcome our second panelist, Tien Mai from Vietnam. Tien Mai is from She Codes Vietnam, and she has been working to encourage women to take the leap into the technology sector. In the past 3 years, She Codes Vietnam has reached over 10,000 women across the country. Her mission is simple. She would like to create a new normal where women are fully supported to learn, experiment, and challenge themselves in tech. Welcome, Tien.
Hi, everyone. It's my honor to be here. Very excited to share the same stage with you guys.
Hello. It's so great to have you guys here. I'm very, very interested and keen on hearing your stories about how you guys have been working within the STEM industry. So maybe let's begin with Anne, and I'll ask the first question on when was your first interest in science, and when did you decide that you wanted to become this scientist?
Well, I think as a kid, science kind of answered all the questions that I had. And I was always redirected to look at this book that has science answers for all my questions about how the world works. So that was definitely part of it. And then also my first toy was a box of transistors and other electronic parts. So kind of playing around with electronics came very naturally. I was also really obsessed with bugs because to me they were just like free pets that I could collect in the backyard. So I became really interested in entomology as well. And then because I wasn't given many toys, I would take my hot glue gun and garbage from around the house and kind of piece together these preliminary inventions when I was a kid, which I got really excited to present to my parents.
Wow. And as a kid, so like 7, 8 years old?
I don't know. I don't really remember a lot of it, but I'm sure, I think probably, yeah, I think from the videos that I've seen, I was around 7 or 8. And then I started joining the local science fair when I was in the 6th grade. So I was probably 11. Yeah.
Okay. And this is in British, you're in Vancouver, right now?
British Columbia on Vancouver Island, which is where I grew up. And yeah, it's very it's like a city, but it's still quite small town vibes. And it was a very enjoyable place to grow up. And the local university here, they used to have this big like container where they would just throw out all their old electronics and like old computers and printers. So I would always go there after my field hockey practice and pick out something to take apart.
Wow. So it really was it started really young for you.
Totally,
And
for sure.
no wonder you've achieved all the things you've done by now. So thanks for sharing that, Anne. I'd like to welcome Tien back here and ask you for your interest in technology and computing science. How old were you when you decided to first get into the world of the technology sector and start a professional career from it?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very amazing of Anne, by the way, to have been able to start at from such a young age. I think my background is a little bit different. I started quite late, actually. So I was born and raised in a very traditional and conservative Vietnamese society. I just never thought that I would ever be interested in technology at all, a field that was still very male dominated at the time. I was probably raised by women, and honestly, all they wanted from me was just to get a stable job and then get married, and then I'm done with my life. Yeah, but then I went to the States. I got the scholarship to go to the States to study, and then I took my first programming language. My first programming class when I was in second year of college. And since then, I was just very drawn. I was just very fascinated about using technologies to in business to build products that improves people's life. So yeah, I think that's the point where my career kind of took a turn, and how I kind of like see that I want to lean in more technology sector.
Wow. So what did you study in your first undergrad?
Yes, I studied in the United States for my undergrad. And then I took 2 years off school to kind of like work and travel around Southeast Asia, because I just wanted to see how the scene, how the technology scene around Southeast Asia is. Yeah. So I'm heading back for my last year of school very soon.
Oh, okay. So you're still in school. Wow. Okay. That's
I'm
great,
quite old for
Tien.
school. But I mean, you're never too old to learn anything.
Of course, of course. Of course. I'm sure everyone here today in the audience is they're all here for school as well. So I think it's a great way to learn things and meet new people, and like what you're doing right now, I think expanding and understanding more of the local sort of tech scene that you have. So that's great. I'm going to invite Anne back here. And I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions. Also, a reminder for the audiences, if you have any questions for Anne or Tien, you can pass them on in the comment box, and we'll try reading them out today in the session. So the one hard-hitting question that I hope to get some answers from you guys is, was it hard for you to as a woman to be in a male-dominated world? So maybe Anne, you can answer first.
Totally. I mean, I think every woman who's in kind of a STEAM or STEM occupation struggles with different things, but I think the main aspects are obviously not being taken seriously because of just being a woman, or not being taken seriously because of our appearance or how we choose to dress, which really should have no reflection on the work that we are able to do and are presenting. Yeah, there's a lot of difficulties with, things like that I hope we can start kind of unestablishing, if that is a word I could use, from a young age, of just being like, women in STEM can like dress or put on makeup or do whatever they want, and women in STEM can have multiple interests and multiple talents, and not just like one field, but multiple. And I think it's definitely something that I faced growing up, but it's also interesting because I didn't really understand that, or like think about that there were less women around me whenever I went to science fairs or to conferences or whatnot. I would just kind of be like stepping in and just doing my own thing and then just leaving. I was kind of naive in that way, but I think my naivete in some ways worked well for me, because then I wouldn't be as intimidated by the circumstances I was in. But the older I got and the more I began really learning about the real lack of women in STEM or STEAM. Sorry, I use STEAM because it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, which I believe is kind of more what I think we should push in the educational system. But the more that I learned about the lack of women in STEAM, the more that I realized it was a really big issue that needs to be targeted from kids at a very young age, and kind of establishing what someone in science looks like and what they can do is really important, instead of sticking to stereotypes that are established by Hollywood, like, for example, characters in The Big Bang Theory or things like that.
Have you been doing any advocacy or any sort of actions to diminish that stereotype?
Totally. I'm actually writing a whole book about it right now. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I signed with a book agent recently, and we're going to start pitching my thing, which is kind of focused on that theme of breaking down these stereotypes. We're going to start pitching it in the fall. And then in general, I do a lot of public speaking. Well, COVID hasn't really helped, but usually I speak a lot about those kinds of issues. Yeah.
And here you are today as well.
Here I am, virtually.
There you go. It's a form of public speaking. And
yes.
Thanks, Anne. Tian, do you have an answer to my question before?
Yeah, I think I shared the same like sentiment with Anne. I think it was very hard for me at the beginning because I was just looking around and I couldn't find anyone who shared the same background to help me navigate this transition into technology. And I completely agree with Anne. It was because of the lack of good public tech education in our country. And I think there are also certain stereotypes about what women can do in Asian culture as well. And this is not only applied in Vietnam. I worked and I studied in China for a while. And then I also worked in Singapore for a year, the country that was thought to be the tech leader of Southeast Asia. But in this country, I still find the same pattern, which is a very small number of women working in technology. So I think these two causes are the main culprit in the lack of women in STEM in Southeast Asia. And also, it's just because I just saw a question in the private chat. What women face? What do you think is the challenge that women face when that stops them from being in STEM? So I think that at least for the majority of Asian women that I've been talking to, I'm not saying this is applied for everyone, but at least from my observation, women can do so much. But I think Asian women really suck at showing out. Like we can do 10, for example, but we only show 3. So I think that level of confidence affects a lot about the way that we think and the way that we approach things. But again, it's not easy at all to help women in tech to gain confidence because, again, it goes back to the question, what makes us not confident in the first place? Well, it's because of the stereotype of the society is a traditional view about the responsibility of men and women in Asian culture, and it's the lack of technology education from public school for kids from such a young age. So this issue, I think, it still need a lot more time to be completely addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. I totally agree. Like, I grew up, my mom is from the Philippines, so I just grew up being like, okay, like, and I'm also Canadian, and everyone's like, oh, Canadians are the friendliest people. So I never really spoke up about things that I thought were unfair, or, I didn't want to upset or fluster people, so I wouldn't say anything. And actually, it was really helpful for me to move to America, to New York, where, especially in New York, everyone, if they don't like something, they'll say it immediately to your face. And I found that, like, at first very shocking, but very helpful to be like, no, like, if I'm not okay with something, I should say that, instead of trying to, like, keep things inside and not complain. And I think that's a really big hurdle that also a lot of women in STEM or STEAM, when they feel like they're not being treated equally in the workforce or with the amount of research they're doing, and then their male coworker will take all the credit, things like that. I think it's really important for us to tell all women from a very young age that you should be speaking up about those issues and to feel comfortable with doing that.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. I think
totally.
I think what Tian mentioned there, and also Anne, is the lack of technology and information resources that we might have that could be one of the culprits of why maybe the STEM or STEAM, thank you, Anne, for mentioning that, stream is quite low in ASEAN. Do you think there's any other challenges other than the lack of resources that affects why we have such a low percentage of STEAM women?
I think I don't remember what the exact statistic was, but we're losing, I think it's like initially young girls express a lot of interest in science, and then at a certain age, like 11 or 12, I really could be totally wrong, but it's at a younger age that's slightly later that they suddenly stop kind of pursuing it, or something happens where their interest is lost. And I feel like the way STEM programs are portrayed is that a lot of times it is kind of oriented towards guys, and it doesn't always feel as friendly. And I don't know. I also feel like a lot of girls will look at like science activities and be like, oh, well, I'm not really good at any of this. Like, I don't really have any skills I could bring into it. So like, maybe I'll just do something else, which is why I really love the concept of STEAM, which is science, tech, engineering, arts, and math, because it's really, and this is something that Steve Jobs also believed in quite heavily, which is bringing the sciences and the arts together and showing how they can work side by side instead of being two completely different subjects, with science always being regarded typically as a career and art as a hobby. But actually showing, for a product like the iPhone, it's a perfect example of the science and the tech to make the interface and everything run so well, but also it's a lot of design and art to make the technology aesthetically pleasing. We expect our science and technology to be part of our fashion nowadays when we carry around things. And I think it's really important to show young people, whether they are girls or boys, but especially girls, that, hey, all these other interests you have that you don't think you could actually apply to the world of STEAM, you can actually do that. And I think that will hopefully bring in more people, as well as, again, changing the way young kids who are interested in science on screen is portrayed by big TV shows and Hollywood in general, because that has a huge influence on all of us as a culture, as a society, in the world. What we see on screen, what we see in front of us, what we see on social media every day really dictates what we think is cool or what we think is okay to be, or all these things which are so crazy, but it's still true. And I know I felt very flustered and embarrassed as a teenager, knowing that, like I had braces and glasses and I was good at science, and like I felt very embarrassed. So I would like walk around without my glasses and be like completely blind around school because I felt so embarrassed about that stereotype, especially also being half Asian. People were like, oh, she's Asian, so she's like good at all of that. And like, oh, like, comes naturally to you, it's in your blood, or like things like that, which were like super insensitive to say, because I really struggled with most of my science classes. And it just, I don't know, there's just so many things like that I know have come from media portrayal of women in STEM. So I really hope that can change as well.
Thanks, Anne. Tian, do you have anything else to add on perhaps what you think are the main challenges on why women aren't helping onto this streamline in ASEAN particularly? Hi, Tian.
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you repeat? I'm sorry, it's my internet connection.
No, it's totally fine. Just if you had any other opinions on what do you think are the main factors and challenges that the ASEAN region are facing when it comes to the low number of women in the stream?
Yeah, so I think, apart from the tech education and some social stereotypes that Andrew mentioned, I just feel like in Asia, there's a lot of tech companies that are focusing on short-term benefit at the expense of diversity. And I think it's unwise for the long-term growth. And at the same time, it makes it difficult for women to lean into technologies, because if they cannot find opportunities offered to them, why would they go into this sector, right? So what I mean is that, for example, companies who don't want to invest on females friendly policy like maternity leaves or like paid leaves, or they still have some sort of like negative implications towards women taking a career break to give birth, for example. But I think it's unwise in it's unwise in the long term for the company, because if your products or your companies is serving a diverse range of customer, including both men and women, and you're not friendly towards women in the workforce, then from a product development perspective, your product is not going to be successful because it lacks the voice of those who presents women consumers. So I think it's very important for the companies to realize this and start to embrace more initiative to include more women in technologies. And from our side, if we see that there's a lot of companies opening opportunities for us, I think we would have more how to say, like, encouragement, or we would see more opportunities open for us to enter this sector. Yeah.
Okay, great. Just a quick question to both of you. I don't know, I'm not sure if you've dealt with this, but have you guys ever had any difficulties persuading your peers or family to let them know that you're working on technical things instead of writing MOMs or handling administration? So this is a question from the audience, and I think it's very interesting. Do any of you have that experience?
Tian, do you want to go first?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so probably I can share. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Anne.
No. I mean, I don't personally have a lot of that experience because I work for myself. So I just do my own thing within my company. And my dad is the other person in my company. So it's not like a big thing. But I definitely have had experiences where people just have difficulty believing that I'm doing all these things, or that I'm giving the keynote talk at a conference for design or whatever that is, because they're just like, that doesn't make any sense. What? So I've definitely had stuff like that where I'm just not taken seriously because of my gender or age and, things like that.
And you, Tian, did you ever experience something like this?
I think I was quite lucky because at least for my last time working in Singapore, I had some time, like some difficult time, like learning about more technical concepts. But I wouldn't say it was really difficulty because of my gender, because people around me was very supportive in terms of trying to teach me what I need to know in order to finish my work and in order to build product using technologies. So yeah, I think I was lucky in that sense. And then at the same time, I feel like sometimes it's a question of like how much knowledge you have. So I think as long as you equip yourself with enough technical knowledge and you just show your motivation to learn more, then people would be definitely open to help you. Yeah.
So I think a lot of sharing, and I guess what Anne is doing as well, the advocating about talking about it, basically talking about what you're doing, talking about how this is not the reality of what the STEAM world looks like and how it's depicted. And I think, that conversation will sort of give imagery to people and sort of break down the stereotypes, hopefully much more quicker than how it was a couple of years ago. So I'm going to ask this next question to Anne, and I wanted to hear more about a little BTS story about your journey as an inventor. And perhaps you have the most memorable innovation that you love the most.
I don't know. I feel like the invention that I'll love the most is still coming up in my life, honestly. But, obviously the flashlight that I made got such a huge unexpected response on the internet, and I was only 15. And it truly changed my life doing that and doing the Google Science Fair. So I truly am so thankful for that. So I would say that's the most memorable invention that I've done. Also because it's just inspired so many other young kids, girls and boys, to want to invent and become an inventor. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they're all like cool things, but I hope I'll make something even cooler in the future I'll be more proud of.
Is there a certain thing that happens that makes you want to invent something, like a eureka moment, or does it just come?
I think it just comes from seeing something, a problem, and you want to help fix it. And usually there's some sort of emotional attachment. Maybe it affects your community or family or a family member or a friend. And then you go, hey, I really feel this need and I want to do it. Or it's just something funny or cool that you think of and you're like, let me try and see if I can make this. Yeah.
I mean, I think an invention is basically a solution, right? So
Yes.
if you're thinking in that way, then that product or whatever thing you have in mind could be achieved. If we're speaking about solutions here, Tien, maybe you can share to us your motivation when you started Cheat Codes Vietnam, and maybe just give a brief explanation of what exactly it is to our ASEAN friends who are watching. Oh, did we lose Tien?
Did we lose her?
Oh no.
Oh gosh, we lost her.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, we will miss you.
We will
Maybe
miss her.
she'll pop in, but are there any other questions I can answer in the meantime?
Of course. So in the meantime, we do have a question from the audience here from Brigitta. She's asking how to give ourselves for keeping in motivation to make creative things in STEM world. So yeah, how do we motivate ourselves to keep on making creative things?
It has to be something that you're really excited about and something that you feel this energy, this need to keep on making. And if it's not a topic or an area that you feel that enthused by, honestly, I would say don't do it, because to invent something from an idea in your head and something physical in front of you, that process takes so long, and it's such an up and down journey because there's so many times you'll fail or things will go wrong or, all these things. So really make sure it's something that you really love and are interested in and you want to pursue. And also, obviously, the hope is whatever you're inventing is going to be able to help lots of people around the world, or maybe just one person that means a lot to you and you want to create a solution for them. But what's so beautiful is that one person that's experiencing that problem, there could be thousands of people around the world that are also experiencing that. And you could be indirectly helping them as well, because usually invention will hopefully start to snowball and create a really big effect that's positive.
Wow, great answer. I hope that inspires you, Brigitta. Tien, did you want to answer this question real quickly? So it was a question from the audience, and she asked how to keep yourself motivated to make creative things in the STEAM world.
Yeah, I think it will be very difficult at the beginning if you started by yourself. So if you can find a community, whether it's the community within your country or whether it's a global community in any social channel, then you should join and find like-minded people who want to learn about the same kind of technology as you. So if you have kind of like buddy to start learning together and to build some small projects together, then you would have more motivation to keep going. And I think the second motivation factor for me was to ask yourself, why do you actually want to learn about technology? Like personally, I think technology is so powerful. It gives everyone the power to build something that can help improve people's life and to create so many things that can help our society in general. So just kind of like ask yourself that question, why exactly you want to learn about technology, what kind of career you want to pursue in the future. Is there going to be any overlaps in technology or not in your future career? Then yeah, I think it would definitely give you more concrete idea and motivation to maintain your learning passion for a long term. Yeah.
So sort of remembering your goals and tying back together of like what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Okay. So is that your motivation to start Cheat Codes Vietnam?
Yeah, so actually, when I first started Cheat Codes Vietnam, it was a very simple thought. I thought there were more women like me out there. Possible I'm the only person who wants to learn more about technology but don't know where to start. And then at the same times, I feel like there's so many women coming from a traditional background like me and who doesn't have like good technology education from a young age. So me and my team just started Cheat Codes Vietnam because we want to create more playgrounds for women to learn about technology, to learn about coding, and see that it's everyone like can actually do it. It's not as difficult and intimidating as it looks like. And for example, last year in our all-female hackathon, we saw a pair of mom and daughter coming all the way from a small city to join our hackathon and to build many cool things. So it's and every year our hackathon attracted 300 women at one place, and they stayed up all night for 48 hours to build many products using cool technology technology like blockchain, AI, machine learning. So yeah, I think it's just the mentality that of everyone that think technology is very difficult and it's not something for themselves. But once you can overcome that thought, you can really do anything that you want. Yeah.
Wow, that's really great. It's so great to hear that you're sort of building this community. And I think you mentioned before your struggled in the beginning of your journey and how you didn't have sort of like a mentor to navigate your way through the STEAM world. And now you're actually creating a hub and a networking spot and sort of answering the problem that you had in the beginning with the solution. So
Yeah.
that's great. So this is the last question. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. But I think you guys have mentioned some great things. Maybe just one last word of encouragement or tips to our audiences today on how to sort of navigate their way through the STEM or STEAM world. So, Anne?
My advice would just be to stay true to My advice would just be to stay true to yourself, who you are, what your self-values and morals are, and be stubborn about that. Don't change because you feel like you need to fit in or to someone else's expectations of what they want you to do, or just be yourself and celebrate that. Because I feel like when I was younger, I spent a lot of time pretending to be someone else so that other people could see me more clearly or appreciate me or whatever that was, or understand me. And I feel like it's way more better and more enjoyable in life if you just are yourself. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
Thanks, Anne.
Yeah, I think as for myself, I would say that just take advantage of a lot of open source tech education out there. Don't worry if you don't come from a tech background. You can totally prepare yourself for a lot of tech skills, even if you don't go to a tech school, or even if you start quite late like me. Yeah, and you're not in the rat race either. You can start later, or you can start slower than other people. But I think it doesn't mean that you cannot pursue your dream, right? There's so many things in technology. There's so many industries, so many domain and opportunities every day. And I believe that you can always find your fit. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jane. That was very inspiring. Going on to her answer about education, actually, you guys are at the right spot today. If you want to actually find out more about research opportunities and scholarships that are offered in STEM or the STEAM line, you can actually visit the Erasmus and Euro XESS booth in the expo session. They've got a couple of brochures and a live Q&A if you want to ask any specific courses or any other questions that you might have. So thanks so much, guys. I'm going to close up the session soon. And if you guys want to talk to them more, you can hop onto their social media pages, and I'm sure they would happily respond. So just before I close, I'd like to invite everyone to take pictures of your sustainable fashion pieces, tag EU in ASEAN in our social media pages, and share your thoughts on today's session. The best photo today and the best comments will receive a special hamper from the EU. So be sure to stick around for some more talks at the 4th ASEAN EU Cooperation and Scholarship Day 2021. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.